So by the time you go to the ninth grade, your stepfather is already out the house?
Yeah.
Okay, and at what point do you decide that you want to fully embrace Inglewood 13?
I want to say like high school, the beginning of high school, like my freshman year. Yeah.
And what were your biggest influences?
To me, my biggest influences was the homies. Where I grew up on Stepney and Centinela, pretty much every day around that time, like once I was already like in high school and stuff like that, I would just walk out to the front of my pad, and I'm not even lying, trying to exaggerate for the camera or anything like that, but there was 10, 15, 20 homies deep on the block daily. I'm talking about every day. So to me, like, I would see them right there chilling, drinking, and my homies had money. They'll pull up whips, rims, everything. So to me, that was my influence, like, damn, I want to be that.
So we're talking about the early 2000s, like 2005, 6, 7?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, can you describe the racial demographics of the block that you used to see the homies on in terms of black, Latino, white?
Back then, at least that time, right, it was 50-50, 50% blacks, 50% Hispanics. Post up to the block, at least on Stepney block, you know what I mean? Like I said, we'll be right there chilling. Shout out Brim from CPF. He'll be down the block. He grew up down the block from us, and he used to be right there chilling with us, you know what I mean? Back then, you used to come to this park. At the bottom of the park, you take this street up, you see nothing but the homies from CPF and Inglewood Family. Then you go towards the basketball courts, you'll see nothing but homies. All coexisting, you know what I mean? And we'll even give each other a heads up. Hey, so-and-so's over here. Hey, so-and-so's over there. You know what I mean? So back then, it wasn't how people make it out to be,
But in the 1990s, Inglewood was known for having clashes at the high schools. I guess this would have been before you got to high school. A lot of clashes between blacks and Latinos, especially around Cinco de Mayo and around Black History Month. When you was in high school, did that actually still continue, or was that kind of like not a big thing anymore?
At that point in time, to be honest, it wasn't a big thing like that no more. Although I did get kicked out from Inglewood High. It was like a little rumble between some of the homies and some blacks, but it was just the homie getting down. The homie was getting down with a black. The black was getting the best of him, and then his brother jumped in, and it just created a big thing. But like, as far as like, cause I remember seeing that on the news, you know what I mean? As far as like the big old riots and stuff like that, and then interviewing people and then people talking stuff. I can't say it was as bad as that. It was more gang related than anything. Not just, oh, I don't like you because of your race.
Now you said the black guy was getting the best of the homie. Do you find that that's pretty typical, being that blacks are very athletic, blacks are great at sports, blacks excel in lots of physical things? Mm-hmm. In your experience, does that mean that they're also going to be better fighters most of the time?
I would say they have the advantage, you know what I mean? They got the size and they got the advantage, you know what I mean? But you know us, we know we got that Mexican heart in us. So I think it's just up to, the fight inside the dog, you know what I mean? Like the person, you know what I mean? Whoever's going at it at that time. But yeah, of course, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna lie, there's times where I'd be like, oh man, I don't know if I could take this dude, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do,
I've noticed in professional fighting, most of the great Mexican fighters are from Mexico.
Yeah.
Not too many Mexican Americans or first generation, second generation Mexicans are great fighters.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Have you ever looked at it like that?
Now that you mention it, something like that. Yeah.
You think of all your great Mexican fighters.
They've all been for the motherland. Yeah. They've all been. I could say the only one been Oscar, but even him, he was.
Oscar.
Yeah.
I think Oscar was born
Oscar
here, right?
was born here. Yeah, because he went to the Olympics with USA and all that.
Yeah, he
Yep.
represented the U.S. But there's a lot of conversation about fighting and who's more skillful when it comes to black and Mexicans, especially when prison and
Yeah,
the streets.
for sure.
And a lot of blacks will say, hey, once the Mexicans got the numbers, then they feel that they could take advantage.
For
But
sure.
if it's equal amount of people, the blacks say that they got that every single time. What's your experience, being on the streets and in prison?
I would say, again, it's up to the individuals. You know what I mean? Because if you would say you're in a dorm, you're in a certain dorm, right? And you got like 20, 30 homies, and you got like 50, 60 blacks, right? If that crowd ain't really on that mind, then more than likely, you know what I mean, they'll probably bite their tongue and deal with it or whatever. But if you got some solid ones right there, they're not gonna put up with it, regardless of the numbers, regardless of who's there or whatever. They're just gonna take care of business. So I would say it's just up to the individuals that are there.
Okay. Now, in your high school years, what was the relationship between the blacks and Latinos during your era, for the most part?
For the most part, like I said, for the most part, it was, I can't say that there was a lot of racial tension like that. I'll be lying to you guys if I said I did. I was always the class clown. And I'm not gonna lie, you know what I mean? I've always had black females like on me, like trying to holler at me, you know what I mean? And I've always been cool with blacks, you know what I mean? Like right there clowning and all that. It was to the point that some of the black females that I would be talking to, they used to be like, man, you sure you're not half black? Like straight up, like I've always been like, you know what I mean? A clown, you know what I mean? Like I've always been, if you're in a room with me, you're gonna notice me. You know what I mean? Put it like that.
Now, there's this belief that if a black guy messes around with a Mexican girl, the Mexican homies are going to be more offended than if a Mexican guy messes around with a black girl. The black guys won't trip as much. Like they're more open and more embracing. What's your experience dealing with, when it comes to relationships?
When it comes to that,
Yeah.
I would say, and it's weird, but it is kind of like that. If you really think about it, I don't know why, but I feel like maybe they're like, okay, if it's a dude getting a black girl, like, okay, we got one. But it's like if it's a black dude getting a Latina woman, they're like, oh, they got one on us type. That's the only way I could put it, you know what I mean? Maybe they're viewing it like that.
But who gets more offended?
It depends. It depends. Like if we're raised here and you're with the times, it's not gonna be that bad. But like, for instance, I know Lefty Gunplay was getting a lot of heat for what he said, that he wouldn't let his daughter date a black dude or whatever, that he would be tripping. A lot of Latinos and a lot of blacks, because I touched on it, and you could read my comments. They said it. Like, some people are like, hey, I agree. Some people were like, hey, it's true. Like I said, me personally, man, it's all over if she's well taken care of, if they have good intentions, if I know she's gonna be good, you know what I mean? It's all about love and protection, you know what I mean? If the person that's with my daughter can protect her and is really loving her and is not treating her bad, that's all that matters to me. But like I said, for people that come from that old school, their parents, like our ways of growing up, I'm pretty sure if I was to bring my grandma, rest in peace now, but I'm pretty sure if my grandma, rest in peace, was to see me with a black female, like, hey, grandma, like, she'll accept it because she loves me, but I'm pretty sure the expression at first is gonna be like, whoa, you know? But like I said, that's just because from where they come from, you know what I mean? Us now, growing up here, like I said, our mentality is different.
Now, you mentioned Lefty Gunplay. He's from the SGV, where there's not a whole lot of black people living. From your perspective, growing up in Englewood, you're around a whole lot of black people. So your perspective and a lefty gunplay's perspective, even though you're both Mexican, it's completely different.
Yeah,
right?
the demographic is way different, of course. Yeah, it's not common to them. You know what I mean? Versus right here in Englewood, anywhere you go, you're gonna run into an interracial couple, and that's just facts. Anywhere you go, you know what I mean? So I feel like that maybe does have a lot key factors that plays into it, you know.